everyone, and welcome to No Secrets with Sophia. Today I'm going to talk about the Summer Wells disappearance. For those that aren't aware, a quick recap is Summer Wells was 5 years old, and last June she disappeared from her family home without a trace. There's been numerous searches for her, and they've all turned up nothing. There is very little facts and evidence in the case. Most of the time, creators seem to be speculating, mainly because there just isn't a lot to go on. So, Summer Wells was at home last June with her family, and her mother went to get her from the basement, and the mother says she simply wasn't there. Now, today, what I want to talk about, it has a lot to do with her disappearance, but it also has a lot to do with what is going on within the YouTube community in regards to the Summer Wells case. Now, I am the kind of person that I want to see facts. I want to see evidence before I make some sort of judgment on what could have happened. It's always been my belief that speculation without any evidence will just take you down a rabbit hole that won't solve anything. And this case has done that to the extreme. There's been so much speculation about what could have happened to Summer that I certainly would not be surprised if next we hear that she was abducted by aliens. Because honestly, there is no evidence that points to really what happened. There's no physical evidence, nothing. It looks as though the child simply just vanished. What little physical evidence there is stuff that we as creators are only getting from someone told someone who told someone else. There's very little evidence that is in the first person. A fine example of that would be that there were some footprints found. Okay. Now, the footprints are odd, mainly because there's only one foot. And that evidence is coming to most of the creators through another creator who was told that. Now, I can't say for sure, whether or not these footprints are real or not. But what I can say is I'm very skeptical about them because there's only one. So I guess I would have to believe that Summer was, in the woods of her property. Her house is surrounded by woods. And that she, hopped on one foot and then left one footprint? That makes no sense. So logically, it just doesn't add up. Now, if we were to find out that something else had happened, let's say there was mud and one foot had stepped in mud and the other one didn't. Okay, then I might be able to say that probably is true. But without seeing and actually seeing the area where these footprints were, it's hard to make that assumption. I am also from the hills and hollers of the mountains. I know what it's like here. And I also know that when Summer went missing, it was in June. It was summer, so the trees would have been out. And the woods are very dense and thick, and it's very difficult to get through them. Now, from Summer's house to a small creek, there is a path, a dog path. And a child could, with no shoes on, get down to that dog path, because supposedly Summer disappeared without shoes. Now, even though she's 5, if she would have, veered off into the dense part of the woods and gotten off that path, it would have been extremely easy to get lost in those woods. I've done it myself as a child several times. It's easy. But the one thing that bothers me about that scenario is that she didn't have any shoes on. And you don't go in those woods with no shoes. Most people here won't even go in wearing a pair of shorts because they are entangled in briars and thorns and vines, and it's just very dense, and it would be very difficult. But even if we're to believe that she did that, it's very possible that she could have simply, walked off a cliff pretty much. I mean, because the hills here are pretty steep, and they can be just a very sharp drop off. Um, it's dangerous, to be honest with you. It's very dangerous if there is someone that is walking through there that doesn't know where they're going and has never been there. As a matter of fact, my brother-in-law hunts, and he has fallen off of cliffs several times while hunting. Once it was serious enough that he was actually hospitalized for that. So it is something that could happen. There are also many animals in the woods that could have hurt her. There are snakes, and yes, some are poisonous, and that area is prone to bears and things like that. So there's a lot of wildlife that could have hurt her if she did wander off. Now, I've heard other theories that other creators have said that, well, maybe someone carried her and she was put down, and that's why there's one footprint. Well, why is she standing on one foot? Where's the other foot? That's the problem I have with all of this, is logically, it doesn't make sense. And there's so much about this case that doesn't make sense. So that's why I say there's very little evidence. Now, I have always believed from the beginning that there is just no way that someone that, did not know Summer simply just, followed them home or found them on Facebook, or a stranger went up there and abducted her. I find that really difficult. And the reason being is that the terrain is bad. It really is. And if you are a child molester and you want to steal a kid, it's much easier to do it, in a city street. You have many to pick from. So why would you drive to the middle of nowhere? Because this basically is the middle of nowhere. The Wells home sits on top of a mountain. It's on a one-lane dirt road that dead ends. So no one goes up there unless they live there, or if they're visiting someone that lives there. So the idea that someone would go to all that trouble to steal a child when it would be much easier just to drive through any city street and grab one makes zero sense. I didn't believe it. I still don't believe it. But something has happened that really has had the opposite effect on the true crime community. Many of you may know that some creators had actually planned to go to Tennessee and protest. Well, the protest turned out to be a lie. It wasn't a protest. It was never meant to be a protest. What they did was what I believe is very, very unethical. And the reason I say that is because I don't know how many of you know what they did, but they basically went onto the Wells family property where there are no trespassing signs posted. They even showed a video of the sign. They read it. But they went on the property and they snuck on there and they took pictures and videos. Now, the whole time that this is happening, their creators are saying, there's no way someone snuck up there and did this. But I don't know if anyone else sees the problem with this. That's exactly what they did. They didn't steal a child, but their claim is that they went there to show and to prove that no one would have, went on that property to steal a child. Well, that was something I don't think really had to be proven, because anyone that had a map and could, look at Google Earth could pretty much tell that this house is really out of the way. And that scenario is really very unlikely to begin with. So I just don't know who actually believed that. That is the story that one of the parents is saying. That is what he believes. That's never been what I believe. And it's never been what most people that can look at a map and see Google images believed. It takes about 5 seconds to figure out that no one did that. But by them going out there, they just proved that I was wrong. I was wrong. Someone can do it. It's possible. Which now, does that not create a problem? Because I don't know what they thought they were going to accomplish. The only thing I do know is when they were asked, what good did this do? The answer was, we proved that no one could get up there to steal a child. When they actually proved the opposite. They snuck on the property, they took videos, they were there. And they even videotaped themselves trespassing. Now, this has gone beyond trying to help. For one thing, what did it help? Well, they claim it helped by showing everyone that it's not possible, but it is possible thanks to them. Do I believe that someone did that? No, I don't. For the very reasons I said before. But what has happened is the YouTube true crime community has turned into a very bad Jerry Springer show. It truly has. And I have tried endlessly to stay out of this, but it is just so... There's one thing that just really infuriates me, and that is that when people insert themselves into other people's lives the way that it's been done here. There's nothing wrong with investigating. There's nothing wrong with that. But you cross the line when you begin to bully and harass people. And I believe that's what's going on. That's what went on in the case before this. That was a big case in Florida. And that's what's going on right now. It's wrong. It doesn't help anything. And it only makes the true crime community look bad. And it certainly doesn't help find little Summer Wells. Now, I also, just some of the things that are just driving me crazy. I don't know about everybody else. I can only speak for me. But, the very idea that someone from YouTube would think it's a good idea to go out and go on someone's property that has a missing child and, try to do a video about it without their permission, knowing they weren't wanted on that property. There's been some that say that, the property owner, Don, had, said it was okay, but I don't believe that for a minute. For one thing, when it happened, he was more than likely at work. And they claimed that they could hear voices inside the house. So that tells you how close to their house they were. That's truly frightening. I mean, that's like stalking people. It really is. I don't understand it. I really don't. I know everyone is frustrated with this case because there's not a lot of evidence. But, stalking people and going on their property and acting like this is Jerry Springer is not helping anyone. It really isn't. I don't understand the concept of this. And I know a lot have speculated and said it was for money. It may be, I don't know. But what I do know is that, I hate when things like this happen. Being from where I am from, in the hills and hollers and things like that, a lot of times people have really misconceptions about the people that live here. And that totally infuriates me. Appalachia it's a beautiful but a very sad place. The mountains and the hills and the hollers are some of the most beautiful scenery that you would ever find anywhere. But if you stop along the way and stay a while, you'll see the sadness. It's everywhere. And when I believe that someone is exploiting that or judging people for the way they live, for example, the Wells house, that infuriates me. That really does. It's not, I'm not talking about the condition, the cleanliness. I'm just talking about the house in general. It's clear that they didn't have a lot of money. They still don't, to my knowledge. That's not uncommon. It's not uncommon at all here. Um, I've seen the house through the video with the interview room, as many of you have. And I believe what happened with that house is everyone needs to remember this was inherited. This house was just handed to them. Okay, I believe at one point it was a very small house. There are a lot of those here. More than likely 3-4 rooms, and they begin to add on. You have to remember that with the kids and the parents, you have 6 people in one house. So if you have a house that's 4 rooms or so, it's pretty small. So that's why there was a lot of building, I believe, that went on around the house. And there's been so much criticism. It infuriates me. I really don't know how else to explain it. And I'm not saying that I think the Wells are innocent or guilty. I don't know. But what I do know is judging them by where they live, what their house looks like, is just completely wrong. That doesn't mean they killed their kids, okay? We don't know what happened. We don't know if Summer's dead, alive. We don't know anything. I noticed a lot of creators were criticizing also the steps inside the house. In the middle of a large room, there is a hole in the floor with a bar over top of it. And you go in there and there's steps. It's covered up. But this is, I guess it's really just too difficult for some creators to understand that when you have 6 people and you're trying to cram them into a tiny house, it just doesn't work. So they converted the basement into a couple of bedrooms. But now the problem to them, I'm sure, was how do you get into those bedrooms? The only way to get into those bedrooms is from the outside door. You have to go out of the house, around it, and then into the basement through another door. So Summer's bedroom was in the basement. So to me, it looks as though the stairs were put there to solve a problem. Because who wants to, even the parents would have to do that. Their bedroom is down there too. You certainly don't want to send Summer out into the yard in, a foot of snow to, walk all the way around the house just to get to go to bed. I mean, that's ludicrous. So they did it, I am sure, to solve a problem. And the bar, my feeling is just that I'm thinking if this is something I had done, okay, I would not want to leave an open hole in the middle of the floor so that any of the children could run over it and fall down the hole and down the steps. So there's a bar over it. That, to me, logically makes perfect sense. But to other creators, that seems to be just horrible. Because they don't understand what it's like to be in a situation where you just don't, you have a problem, you need to solve it, and you don't have the money to hire somebody to do it for you. Okay? This is a problem you have to solve yourself, which is exactly, I believe, what happened with the house and why that is odd, okay, about the staircase. And I also noticed, and I don't know if anyone else did, that when the interview room went through the house, I don't recall seeing a closet anywhere. Now, I could be wrong, but from the video, I don't recall that. So there appeared to be in the house a lot of stuff there. It just seemed like clutter, stuff that was just everywhere. And that's more than likely because where would you put it? That would be my question. I didn't see a closet, so where would you put all those clothes? I mean, for 4 children, where would you put them? I didn't see a lot of the kitchen, but from what I could see, I didn't see a lot of cupboards. And again, that's something that's very common here. As a matter of fact, most houses here that are older homes didn't have kitchen cupboards. They either had to be built in, or there were, people used furniture. So, I mean, it's not uncommon here for people that don't have a lot of money, if you're living in an older home, that you may not have a lot of closets and you may not have a lot of cupboards, if any. So I believe that's probably part of the reason for all this clutter. Now, I'm not saying that it's a good thing, but what I'm saying is that before you judge someone about the way they live or how things are, then, it might be a good idea to possibly try to figure out why it's like this, instead of just condemning the person, because I'm sure that those steps were built for a reason. They didn't build them like that on purpose. It was for a reason, to accomplish whatever problem needed solved. And what needed to be solved is, in order for Summer to go to bed every night, she had to go outside, around the house, and in the basement door. So, I just don't get it. I don't. It has never been my belief that someone went up there and stole her. But I think it's more likely that she did wander off. Now, the timelines are a problem. Okay, they are. The main problem with the timelines is that the mother, Candace's timeline, just doesn't add up. She would have been home, according to the mother, around, let's say, 3:30. Okay. They'd been in town and they'd been to the store and everywhere else, and they got home about 3:30. Now, according to the mother, what happened is she, planted flowers with the grandmother, washed her hands and ate candy, and then she went into the house. Now, the phone call to report Summer missing was at 6:30. There's no possible way that timeline works, because that means that between 3:30 and let's say it took an hour to plant flowers, which is stretching it, to be honest with you, because there was about 4 flower pots there. But let's give it an hour. You're still at 4:30. 2 more hours before 911 is called. So something happened in between there. And the theories that I have heard are just crazy. They're completely crazy. A lot of times the simplest answer is the right one. Rather than, these rabbit holes that kind of take you to nowhere. While they are well-intentioned by creators, I am sure, it really doesn't offer much, because there's zero evidence for it. For example, let's say that you do believe someone come up there and took her, and you believe possibly it's someone, from town, or someone they knew, or someone was close to family. Well, that's a great theory, but where's the evidence? There isn't any. There really isn't any evidence of anything. The only first-hand evidence that we do have comes from the neighbor, Jody Sue. And many believe that she's really unreliable. But at this point, the mother's timeline is so bad that we really can't even take that into consideration. Maybe the time she got home, but everything after that makes no sense at all. Which is, I think, why a lot of people have, been, on the side of the parents had something to do with it. The mother had something to do with it. But I honestly think that the timeline is just so horrid. And I'm not sure why that is. I know many people that seem to think that 5 or 10 minutes is really a couple hours. I know people like that. I have people in my family like that. They'll say, I'll be over at your house. I'll be there in about 10 minutes. Well, you might see them 3 hours later. There are people that think like that. So I can't say for sure. She may be one of those people. Or it could be not truthful. I don't know, one way or the other. There's no way to know. Really. You can't really prove that. Okay? So even if, let's say, someone snuck up there through one of these crazy theories, did anyone see them? No. Did they leave any evidence? No. There's no evidence at all outside of those footprints and the neighbor. The neighbor's timeline is much more believable. The reason being, it makes sense. It's logical. Okay, it totally makes sense. The neighbor claims she heard a scream about 4:30, which would have been after they got done planting their flowers, according to the mother. that she didn't know what it was. And then about 6 o'clock, the neighbor said she heard Candace, the mother, calling for the little girl. Now, 911 was called at 6:30, so that makes perfect sense. The scream at 4:30, I'm not sure what that was. It could have been anything, to be honest with you. It could have not even been from their property, or it could have been Summer getting hurt. It could have been her falling off a cliff. I mean, there's so many things that could have happened to that child once she left, and they are all speculation because nobody knows what happened. We only know that she's missing, and that some people found some footprints that logically make zero sense, because why would you have one foot? And we have the timeline from the mother and the timeline from the neighbor. So that is the only leads there are at all in this case. There isn't any. The rest are just crazy. I know a lot of creators have said, well, they sold her for drug money. Okay, who'd they sell her to? No one says. I mean, there's no evidence for this. It's just speculation, and it does no good. The problem is, in order to find out what happened to Summer, we need to find Summer. And until that happens, you're not going to get a lot of answers to these questions. You're just not. And I'm just to me, it's so unbelievable that people would fly across the country to trespass on people's land, to take pictures for what? For what? I find that insulting. I mean, the whole time, these creators are screaming, what horrible people the Wells are, and they've done something wrong, and then they lied. For what? They all lied. They were going there to protest. Oh, and then it was canceled. And then after that, then they sneak onto people's property and take pictures without them knowing. Now, how is that right? How is that even ethical as an investigator? It's not. I've heard them say through their videos that, well, we had permission. I don't believe that. Another lie was, well, the police were with us. I don't believe that either. Because if the police were with you, you were filming. They would have been in a picture. You would have heard their voice. There's no one there. You were clearly trespassing. And you did it on purpose. And you lied to your followers and subscribers on YouTube about what you were planning on doing. Because you knew what you were planning on doing was wrong, and it was. It is my opinion, and this is no one else's but my own, that this was a line that should never, never have been crossed. The area that you were in, that these creators were in, has been searched many times by law enforcement. Many times. And you didn't bring anything new to the situation. What did you bring new? That, the terrain sucks. Well, you know what? Anybody that had a half amount of brain could look at a map or Google Earth, and you can clearly see what it looks like. This was uncalled for. I mean, it's just unbelievable to me that something like this would happen. Now, I know a lot of people would probably say, well, you're siding with them, the Wells. And I'm not. It's not that. What I'm saying is that if you have to do something that is illegal in order to get pictures to put on YouTube, then as a true crime creator, that's really not even true crime. It's more, like, okay, we're going to go down and film, at the Hillbillies' house. And this is another Jerry Springer show. Because that's all the true crime community has turned into. There are so few creators right now that are dealing with facts and only facts. Okay? That I could count them on a few fingers. The vast majority of people, my clock is going off, the vast majority of creators right now, it's all about speculation. It's all about getting on one channel and then going to another and fighting, and it's like YouTube Jerry Springer. I mean, it's unbelievable. You could sit here and I could turn on any creator's video, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3, that is talking about the Summer Wells case, and it's like watching Jerry Springer. So and so said so and so, and I don't like this person. It's garbage. It's just utter garbage, and it's like live reality TV. Only it's not fake like reality TV. It's real. And everybody, you're affecting people's lives in real life, not just on YouTube. This is real life. I mean, I've seen creators calling children's services on other creators, and I don't even know why. I don't even know how they found out where all these people are. But I guess some of the creators are voluntarily giving out their information. This is where I live. This is my name. This is my phone number. I mean, I don't know why they're doing that, because they're setting themselves up to be a target. And now it's come to the point where they are actually going to people's homes and on their property. Now, I know that they did that with the laundries, and I disagreed with that altogether, but it is a public street. I disagreed with the way they did it, but they did have the right to do it as long as they did it on a street. They did not sneak past no trespassing signs to take videos. This was not an attempt to talk to the parents to try to find Summer. That was not what this is about. It doesn't matter if that is what a creator tells you. That's not true. It's just not true. Because they weren't talking to the owner of the property. They weren't talking to the parents, the little girl. They may have talked to neighbors, I don't know. But to literally sneak on someone's property, when you've clearly even videotaped, the no trespassing sign, and then to say that you weren't trespassing is just ludicrous. And anyone that believes that, you really need to have a second look here, because something is clearly wrong. And it's dangerous. Sooner or later, something bad is going to happen if this does not stop. That's my belief. Because sooner or later, this is going to get out of hand in some case. It may not be with Summer Wells. It may be with another case. Because this has been ongoing now for quite a few of these high-profile cases. So I don't know about everyone else. But what I do know is I do not agree with YouTube Jerry Springer. It just, if you want to do a reality show, fine. But don't drag other people into it that don't want to be there. And that's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens. You end up in one of these situations, and, there's a very good possibility that someone could get hurt at some point. And that's a risk the creators, I think, are taking. But I just don't see how is it worth it, because what are you getting? I guess you're getting money, because that's really the only thing I can think of that they're getting is money, donations. And if that's what this is about, then okay. Then you obviously don't really care what happened to Summer. Because the most logical things that could have happened are never thought of or spoken of. It's always the most outlandish, crazy things that supposedly happened. So my opinion of all of this, I know, is not what everyone else is. A lot of people think this is a great idea. I don't. I own property. If someone showed up here and they weren't wanted, I don't think, I'm sure I would press charges. I have no doubt. But you have to be able to put yourself into the shoes of the other person, which clearly a lot of creators can't. All they can do is judge. That's really all they can do, is judge the backwoods hillbillies up on top of the hill that did something to their daughter, in their opinion. That's how I see it. And I'm sure not everyone sees it that way. But I think there are some creators that do. And some of them are angry about it. And I have to admit that, I'm not happy with it at all. And I don't like it one bit. And the reason I don't like it is just because of all the things I've said before. When people come here, I've seen it. When people come here from other states or even other countries, they drive through, and what they'll say is, it is just so beautiful here. It is just so beautiful. But the reality is, yeah, the mountains are beautiful, the hollers are beautiful, but what you need to do is stop here. Stop and drive through everywhere. And it doesn't take long, and what you're going to see is a lot of people that live in bad poverty. That's what you're going to see. And you are going to see drugs and things like that because most of these communities have been just decimated in the past 50 years or so. So it's a beautiful sadness. And it really makes me angry when people come here and pretty much thumb their noses and look down their noses at some of the people that live here. Now, that's not to say that I believe Dawn and Candace are completely innocent. I believe that something happened to Summer, but I don't believe it was something that they intentionally did. I think something did happen, just because there's no evidence of anything else. I've heard theories that possibly the mother beat the child. Okay, well, where's the evidence? Is there any where's the police reports or children's search? Something. I'd like to see it other than someone just saying it's true. Just because someone says it's true, a creator says it's true, doesn't mean it is. So if you care to show me the evidence for that, then I would consider it. But I haven't seen it. I know there was a domestic violence charge against the father, but in the report, it makes no mention of him hitting the children or physically doing anything to the children. So, okay, if this has been going on for years, where's the evidence? I'd like to see it. If I saw it, then I would consider that. You see, that's the difference, is that many creators have already been judge, jury, and executioner of the Wells family, and there's zero evidence. If there were, I would consider it, but there isn't. So by you going down there, all these creators, and going on people's property in order to prove something, what you proved was that someone could sneak on that property and get away with it. That's what you proved, which is opposite of what you were trying to say, because that says that maybe what Dawn Wells said, that someone snuck up there and stole his child, it is possible. So I will acknowledge that. But is it really, it might be possible, but did it really happen? I'm not sure. I don't believe it. Not unless it was someone that was close to the family, someone knew the area, someone knew the terrain. This was not a stranger abduction. It wasn't, okay? The police have said that since the beginning. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, the FBI, and the Sheriff's Department have all questioned this family just, over and over for months on end now. And they have said the same thing over and over. So going down there and doing this is certainly not going to make them change their story. Because if they were going to change their story, that would have happened long ago. And it certainly wouldn't happen to some strangers lurking around on their property when there clearly are no trespassing signs posted. It was just one big lie. The whole thing turned into a Jerry Springer show. It really did. It accomplished nothing. What happened was these people lied to the subscribers, said they were going down there to protest, then at the last minute cancels the protest, and they even went so far as to post a video saying they were getting on the plane and going home. And then, after that, you find out that what happened was they went there to sneak on someone's property. It was all a big scam. It was a complete scam from the beginning. And to all those people that donated money for this, I hope that's okay for you. I'm not someone that donated, but if I did, I would be pretty angry. Because the wool was pulled right over everyone's eyes, and it was done on purpose. Now, of course, they have said that, that wasn't their intention. But, if it wasn't their intention, then why did they do it? It shouldn't have been done to begin with. They didn't accomplish anything. These people are not police officers. They're not even investigators. They're in a reality show that we're all watching. It's unbelievable. That's what's going on, and no one even can see that what you're watching is not real. One of the creators even said that this is all a show. Of course it is, because it's a giant reality show. That's exactly what it is. It's like Jerry Springer on steroids on top of Hillbilly Mountain. And it's disgusting. It's totally disgusting. I mean, I have said before that I don't like the fact that one creator will attack another and all that. I don't. But this crossed the line. It clearly did. This is just as bad as some of the things that has happened on the interview room. It is devious and deceitful to the people that were paying these people and giving them money and donations. You deceived those people. And then you go down there and you make a video and then you lie some more and say that the police allowed you to go on private property. That is not the case. That's not possible. The police cannot go on private property without a warrant. Now, so they got a warrant so they could take YouTubers around and let them take pictures. I don't think so. Okay? That's not even logical. It makes zero sense. So the whole thing has become to the point where it's just so disgustingly sick. And none of these people, they say they want to find Summer, but they certainly aren't doing anything to help find Summer. Wandering around in Tennessee in the hills and taking pictures just to prove nobody could sneak up there just completely backfired. It completely backfired. And it has the opposite effect. So I really hope in the future all of us will be able to figure out what happened to Summer. I do. It's just my opinion that she probably wandered off. What happened, I don't know. And, I know the parents don't believe that. I understand that. But I have this based on my own experience. I grew up in the hills and hollers. I know how this works. I mean, if you're a kid and you wander off, it happens. I did it as a child. Most kids here have done it. There's so much woods that you just end up wandering off. And if you get off that path, you can get lost really easy. Very easy. It's very common. Most of the time, older kids are able to find their way back. But someone Summer's age would have a difficult time, especially if she didn't have any shoes on, which makes me think she didn't really go that far. If she did, the only way is if you look at the property, and not by going there, of course. You can do this on Google Earth. You look at the property, and there's a path that will take you down to that small creek. Now, just on the other side of that creek, there is a clearing. Now, tree cutters had been there, and they'd cut their way all the way up to another house on another property. You can stand at that creek and look and see there's clearly a path. So it is possible that she made it to the creek and that the tree cutters had just finished cutting all that down. So with no shoes, she could have walked through that wide swath where there was no trees and no briars and no thorns. She could have done that. What happened after that, I don't know. I don't know if someone hit her on the road. She got on the road, somebody hit her. I mean, there's so many possibilities that could have happened. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know, because there's zero evidence. So all of this, she could have done it, and it is possible, but there's no evidence it happened. So, to be honest, no one knows what happened. And I'm not sure the parents really even know. Because, if the mother was busy and her times are off, and she didn't notice that Summer was gone until 6, but she'd actually disappeared long before that. It's very possible that she doesn't know what happened. She just knows she disappeared. Now, as far as the time, like I said, I don't know if that's not being truthful, or there are some people like this. They're in my family. It's not fun. It's aggravating to no end. But there are people like that. It's not uncommon. So, I guess the takeaway that I have from all of this is just, this is not helping. And I don't even know why these channels are even true crime channels anymore. I mean, we should rename them something Jerry Springer Hour or so and so's reality show, because that's what it is. It's all a show, it's all a game, and it's all done for views and money. There's no other explanation. Because what is being accomplished is, okay, you took some pictures that could have been found online anywhere, that could have been seen through Google Earth, and anybody with half a brain could have figured out that it's really unlikely that some stranger went up there. So, all right, well, I hope that maybe someone else might agree with me, because I really think that what we need to do is just stop watching these people. I don't know what else to do about it, because I don't agree with trolling other people. I certainly don't. I don't think it's right to jump from channel to channel, just troll people. But if we'd stop watching, they'd stop making money. And if they stopped making money, they would do something other than try to be Jerry Springer on YouTube. It's insulting. It's completely insulting to the people that are watching, and to come into a region of the country just to show, something that could be found on Google Maps, and trespass and lie to everybody, and then seem to think that's all okay because the ends justify the means. I'm sure that's how they're thinking. I don't agree with that. I think people should have maybe some morals, and things like that, and integrity, but that's obviously not the case with a lot of people anymore. So I guess that leaves me in a minority, because I want to believe what's logical and what has evidence. And if someone can show me evidence of what actually did happen, beyond what I've discussed, I'd be more than happy to look at it. The problem is there isn't any at this point. So it's human nature to speculate, I suppose, and go down these rabbit holes. But if you go down a rabbit hole and the scenario is not very likely, then you're just down a rabbit hole. It's not helping. And I think that's happened with a lot of creators and a lot of these crazy theories. So, I'll come back on and talk about this when the alien ship lands in the clearing there at the bottom of that creek, and lets everybody know that they have taken Summer Wells, because that's how nuts it is. All right, I'm going to close for now, and my rant is over, and I didn't bore everybody to death, but this is just something that's been bothering me for weeks now, and it all came together last night when this happened, because I was just so appalled. I was just so appalled that you would go on someone's property, you would videotape it, and then, or live stream it, one or the other. I think it was taped, but record it, and then post that you were doing something illegal in order to take a picture of an empty shed. It's unbelievable. So, but yeah, that kind of just all came together, and when all that happened, I'd had enough. I don't know about other people, but I had had enough of the nonsense and garbage and the games. So, I don't believe that you're truly covering true crime. You're just bullying and harassing people. That's all you're doing in your reality show. So I think we all need to get back to, trying to figure out what happened to this poor little girl, instead of watching, hillbilly Jerry Springer. Okay, well, I'm going to end this for now, guys, and I do hope that maybe someone agrees with me. But this is something that I felt I needed to say. And I don't know if there's other people out there that think like I do, but I do know that I find it all completely disgusting. And I do hope every day that we find out what happened to Summer. We may not, who knows, but it's my hope that their creators would, instead of fighting with each other and calling each other names and trolling each other and, trespassing and bullying people, that just maybe what they ought to do is try to figure out how this happened. Where is this girl? Because until you find her, you're not going to know what happened. Okay, well, I'm going to close for today, but I want to thank everyone for listening to my really long rant, and I'm sorry because I don't normally do this, but I was just so angry about all of this. It's just so wrong, and I hate the stereotypes that are given to the people of these hills. It just really bothers me, and I'm sure there are other creators that think that too. Maybe they just won't speak out, but okay, well, I'm going to close, and I will see you guys the next time, and hopefully with a new case. Bless you all. Good night.